Sean, I want you to talk to us about what you've touched on a little bit, that fear, dispelling the fear of snakes, because like I've mentioned to you, I'm petrified, and I think many South Africans are. Why are we so frightened of snakes, and is it necessary, really?
It is. In certain circumstances, I'd say one wants to have a healthy respect rather than fear. And we would often, try and dispel the myths and the superstitions and fallacies around snakes. They're extremely useful animals, as are all God's creatures, but at the end of the day, they form part of the ecology within our environment. And you take, for instance, one mole snake that can eat up to 1 million mice in its lifetime, or the equivalent of 1 million mice. Take that out of the picture, and you've suddenly got a lot of mice and a lot of problems around the issues with farmers and things like that. We've even got people on wine farms that are wanting us to reintroduce mole snakes to the wine farms so that they can get rid of pesticides and things like that, just to control the rodents. And that kind of thing, unfortunately, has only sort of come back now that everybody's kind of moving towards a greener way of life. Where previously, the order of the day was chemicals and any other means that was destructive to the environment.
Yeah.
But the fear of snakes is something that somebody develops probably as a result of a bad set of circumstances, exposure to something, maybe even to stories that were told to them by the grandparents. So that kind of fear you sort of carry with you until you get to a point where you understand the animal and the benefits of the animal, and the fact that although they're predators, they're not aggressive, they're more defensive. So the last thing a snake wants to do is bite you, but get too...
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
They've got warning systems. They basically play on the fact that they're defensive in terms of, come too close to me and I'm going to warn you, I want you to go away from me, you're a lot bigger than me, in fact you look more like a giant than anything else. And that's the kind of response a snake or any other reptile would have to people. They don't become tame. The snakes that we have, that we take to the various shows, are basically snakes that are used to the fact that we're not going to harm them, we're not going to hurt them, and we handle them with great care in terms of basically making sure that they're comfortable when they're transported. And they have all the needs in terms of their food, their housing, everything else is met. So the levels of comfort are fairly high. At the end of the day, we try and convince people that this is something that they need to try and educate themselves on, try and bring themselves onto a level where they feel reasonably secure around snakes, but not secure enough to go up to a snake and pick it up if they see it in the garden, especially younger people. And being a defensive animal, it will respond if it feels threatened. And these are things that we have to bear in mind. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier that there are over 170 types of snakes in South Africa. Tracy, what are the most common snakes that we're going to experience in the country?
Well, you're looking at your mole snake, you're looking at your boomslang, you're looking at your Cape cobra, you're looking at your puff adder, you're looking at your harlequin snake. There's that nice little rhyme, red next to yellow, killer fellow, and then red next to black, venom lack. That's that little rhyme that we teach the children. We've got our scarpstekers.
Egg eaters.
We've got our egg eaters, but they're non-venomous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got our little garden snakes, your aurora snakes, your brown house snakes. In Cape Town, they're called the tabak-rolletjies.
Sweet.
They roll up into like a little sort of ball.
As such, yes. So there's a variety of them, but definitely I think the ones one would need to sort of be very well aware of would be the puffy, the Cape cobra, the boomslang, and even the mole snake to some extent, because they do grow to very long lengths.
I have an interesting story about that. As I mentioned to you, my husband's an environmental scientist, and he phoned me the other day to say he found a mole snake the size of our car. That really freaked me out.
You have a very small car, or it's a very big snake? So
it's a Taz, so it's not so big. But this was up in Glenkern, so we really do have very big snakes in the Western Cape.
Yes,
indeed,
yes, we do.
In fact, the mole snake, together with the scarpsteker, are the only two that we're aware of that have been successful on Robben Island. And I've discovered that the mole snakes on Robben Island are actually bigger than the ones that you find in the Western Cape. And the ones in the Western Cape are a lot bigger than the ones you'd find up in Gauteng or KwaZulu-Natal. Although it's the same species, you get different differences, like colour differences or different sizes and that type of thing.